I just need you guys to know that it's the kind of morning where I pick to put the coffee up here instead of the water. So at some point I may awkwardly ask Pastor Eric to give me water, but we're gonna need this coffee for a little bit. So I'm really excited to preach today. We're doing a little bit of a message. Last week, Pastor Eric talked about can you love your neighbor unless you've learned how to love yourself? And this week we're going to continue that thought of loving your neighbor. And I'm very, very excited about it. But I really need to know, and I need someone to help me feel better about myself as I ask this, okay? Have you ever lost something like real important to you? Yeah. Yeah, every day. Yes. That's me. I'm actually really unfortunately known for misplacing items on a frequent basis. Either myself or Eric is looking for something pretty important every day for longer than we'd like to admit. And I like recently, I think Andre I even told you, like, I miss my Apple Watch because I can never find my phone. And unlike anything else about my Apple Watch, but the ability to locate my phone was very important in my life. Last week, I froze all my debit cards and ordered a new badge at work because I couldn't find my wallet for 72 hours. So that was a lot of fun. Ended up finding it, got dressed, and it was in the pocket of the jeans I actually wore on Monday, not the ones I thought I had worn on Monday, which I checked like 4 times. So, but then we lost something even more important than those things. We lost our remote, and it was pretty devastating. You're probably thinking like, hey, it's 2024, you can put your remote on your phone, right? As we've already established, I can never find my phone. So that doesn't actually help me, right? Or here's the thing, even if I do have my phone, because we do have our remotes there, it doesn't control the volume on our TV. It controls everything else, but it does not control our volume. So we're sitting in our living room and it's at practicing the way. We have, like a really good sized group. Every seat is full, right? And we can't find the remote. And so then this like awkward everybody getting up and starting to look for the remotes happens. And what's happening is people are looking in my couch cushions and I'm cringing because I'm not really sure what they're going to find. But because my children are heathens, it is at least an entire Pop Tart's worth of crumbs. If not other things, like that is, we have deep couches. They have like these big crevices. If you've been there, it is, no one else needs to look in our couch cushions. And so this is all happening. And then finally I'm like, okay, what is the volume like? Like play the video. What is the volume like? And it was like just enough that it worked, right? I mean, we could hear every noise the kid made in the basement over top of it, but like we could listen to it. So we started our video and Eric and I decided that, okay, we're going to find it when everyone leaves. Well, what we had forgotten is that our poor, sweet middle child, Marvel, has started the habit of when he leaves the room, he carries the remote with him because like he can control that, right? He often is shoved between his older and younger brother's needs. And this is the thing that he's like, I'm just going to take it with me. So after everyone leaves, we find the remote on the back of the toilet in the bathroom. That's where it was. So, you know, we can learn something from this. The more important it is to me, the harder I will look for it. The more important it is to me, the harder I'll look for it. So minimalist experts, they recommend as you're going through your house, you look at everything and you ask a question like, if this went missing, would I miss it? And if it didn't, you get rid of it. Eric and I, we've moved a lot, and I always, again, that like couch cushion experience, I get a little cringe when people offer to help us because I don't know what they're gonna find, right? You start moving and you like find things under beds and couches, and you're like, I don't even know where that came from. 3 children live here. I promise that wasn't like mold. It was probably just cheese from a couple years ago. Like who knows? You find things, but then you also find things that had gone missing and you realize, oh, I guess this wasn't really that important to me because I stopped looking for it at some point, I didn't lift the couch up to find it. It wasn't worth that amount of effort. So the more important it is to me, the more I'll look for it. But like the remote, like my wallet, like badge, like the badge that gets me into the door every day at work, some things cannot stay missing, right? So this is a really good depiction of how Jesus views you. You can't stay missing for him. When you go missing, he notices. When you go missing, he's going to search for you. When you fall into those like dark, hidden crevices that life likes to find for us, he's going to come looking. And we firmly believe that Jesus is still on this mission. Here's the thing, church. He's entrusted it to us to be his search party. Here at Dwell, our heart is that every single person we encounter will feel seen, known, and needed. As followers of Jesus, we have an important mission to carry out on his work of finding lost people. Here's a hard truth of that. This is not a job for the capital P pastor. This is not mine and Eric's job. It is our job as followers of Jesus, but it is the job of each and every individual follower of Jesus to find lost people. It was mandated by Jesus after he died and rose again, and so many other times. It wasn't just to his band of small band of 12 people. It wasn't just to the people who were following him around when he walked the earth. It wasn't just the people he could see face to face. It is for every one of his individual followers from now until the end of the earth. But the good thing is, we're not alone on this mission, right? So he gave us a community to form the search party together. The people that when someone goes missing, we can stand shoulder to shoulder and walk through the woods looking for any clue of that person being missing. And this is called the church. It's our job together as a community to seek lost people. How much easier is it to find something when more people are looking for it? But I think as a Christian, we often hesitate in today's world to do that because how do I know? How do we identify those who are lost and need to be found? It's a really hard thing to navigate. And quite frankly, you won't always know. You won't always know the answer. But we're called to continue to search anyway. See, some people, they don't see themselves as lost, but you might be looking at them and you can see like the unhealthy fruit, or you can see the signs of this is headed towards catastrophe. Most of the time, the person who is stuck in bad habits or stuck in vicious cycles, they didn't make a conscious choice to get there. They stumbled into it. They stumbled in to being lost. More often, they need someone to find them and they haven't realized it yet. The only way these people will be found is if we, the individual believers, if we, the church, choose to look for them. So, Dwell Church, I need you to know today, if you hear nothing else today, catch this sentence. There are a lot of other good things, so keep listening. But if you hear nothing else, you are empowered and equipped and expected to do as Jesus did in seeking the lost and let them know they are seen, they are known, they are needed. We're going to look at Luke 15. If you don't have a Bible, there's some in the back. Feel free to grab one if you want to physically reference one. We'll have verses up here as well. But we're looking at Luke 15, and Jesus does this series of 3 stories in a row about lost and forgotten people of the world. And I think there's something, the third one you've probably heard a lot, but there's something really important as Bible readers we need to pay attention to. When Jesus does a series of stories, and especially if they feel like they're similar and he's repeating himself, there's something to dig into there. He was way too intentional to just tell you the exact same thing 3 times in a row for no reason. So there's something different. So we're going to look at these 3 stories in Luke 15. And the first one is a story about how to find the wanderer. And it's going to talk about sheep here. In Luke 15:3-7, it says this. So Jesus told them this story. If a man has 100 sheep and one of them gets lost, what will he do? Won't he leave the 99 others in the wilderness and go to search for the one that is lost until he finds it? And when he's found it, he will joyfully carry it home on his shoulders. When he arrives, he will call together his friends and neighbors, saying, "Rejoice for me with me, for I have found my lost sheep." In the same way, there's more joy in heaven over one lost sinner who repents and returns to God than over 99 others who are righteous and haven't strayed away. Do you know a wanderer? I think we often see a person, they're stuck in a cycle. Every 6 months or so, we're kind of hearing a similar story from them. We may hit some sort of woe is me kind of story, or the wandering has led them so far that they can't even recognize their life anymore. Maybe they can't even recognize that they've left the path at this point. A lot of you are really good friends, so you've walked alongside this type of person and tried to help them find their way. Maybe you've supported them beyond words a time or two, but the best advice in the world, it hasn't changed anything for them yet. Seeing the positive impact of people around them that are making different life choices, it hasn't done anything for them yet. It's not going to sway them. Sometimes we call this being true to themselves. Sometimes we call it authenticity and even praise people for it. But in a wanderer, that's a mask because they're still lost on the inside. And unfortunately, this type of person, we've left them as a world, oh, they got to hit rock bottom and then they'll come back. This is not how Jesus instructs us to treat a wandering soul. The sheep needs to be found. Otherwise, they may be permanently lost or attacked by dangerous, hungry predators. It is dangerous to be a lost sheep. You become vulnerable. It's our job as believers to carry the spirit of the shepherd and make sure that these people are not alone. David was a renowned shepherd, and he depicts it this way in Psalm 23. Even when I walk through the darkest valley, I will not be afraid, for you are close beside me. Your rod and your staff will protect and comfort me. This is a beautiful picture of how we can be like Jesus. When you see someone walking through the valleys of life, you can be close beside them. What if Dwell Church was filled with the kinds of people that not only notice when someone is missing, but we show up and we walk beside them wherever they are and comfort them? Sometimes we may need to pick them up and carry them home. If you need to see this lived out, you need to get yourself close to my friend Levon over here. Last week, we received one of the best text messages a pastor could ever get. It was, "Hey, I won't be at church today." I know that was one of the best text messages I could ever get because what came behind it is, "My friend is losing his mom and I need to be there." Oh, I was going to make it without crying today. Levon, I'm blaming this one on you. Levon's response was someone is walking through darkness and they're not going to be alone. I'll go with you. I'll walk beside you. The search for a lost sheep is drastically easier when you're already close to them, when you're already positioned to be at their side. The next story is going to move away from sheep metaphor. We're going to jump into this, and it's going to start talking about a lost coin. What we're going to learn in this one is how to find the undervalued. So back in chapter 15, we're going to start at verse 8. These stories, they're coming back to back to back from Jesus. And he says in verse 8, "Or suppose a woman has 10 silver coins and loses one. Won't she light a lamp and sweep the entire house and search carefully until she finds it? And if she finds it, she will call her friends and neighbors and say, "Rejoice with me, for I have found my lost coin." In the same way, there is joy in the presence of God's angels when even one sinner repents. In this story, this woman is carefully and methodically looking for her lost coin. She's not just filled with relief when she finds it, but joy. We can almost hear the like, "I got it. I found it." This is how Eric was when he found the remote in the back of the toilet. And the coin she was looking for at the time, it would be like the modern day equivalent of about $20, right? And depending on your financial situation, it depends how hard you're going to look for that $20, right? If you have $200 and payday is 2 weeks away, you're going to look for that $20, right? But if it's $20 and you have 2,000 sitting in the bank account and know where the next bit is coming from, I might just watch Netflix. I might just whatever it is. It's not the same. The the value of what you're looking for determines how hard you're going to look. And see, the value for us of the remote that we continued to search for is that on Saturday morning, if we can't control the volume of the TV, we can't continue to sleep in after our children are awake. So that remote is valuable in our house. It is valuable. The context of this particular silver coin was really important because at the time, when a woman got engaged, she would be given 10 silver coins and they'd be sewn into a headdress. And then she would gift these to her husband. So these coins, they're not just monetary value, they're a symbol of faithfulness and commitment. So you feel that headdress and you feel a coin missing, you're going to go look for it. What to me was $20 is a symbol of faithfulness to her. It makes me wonder how many people stay lost because nobody understands their value. What's the value of somebody you love? What cost would you pay for them to have the best possible life? Because to Jesus, you're priceless. There is no cost he would not pay. In fact, he has already paid with everything, with his life for you. But we live in a world that is haggling for your soul. We live in a world that we don't even bother to sell pieces of our soul anymore. We freely give them to things like social media, politics, entertainment, addictions, destructive relationships, toxic work environments, money, whatever it might be. We freely give pieces of ourselves. We're taught over and over again to know our monetary value and make sure that other people know it too. Are you getting what you're worth? We hear things like that all the time. And too many of us have forgotten that our worth is actually more precious than gold. Psalm says, "We're sweeter than honey direct from the honeycomb, more precious than rubies." People don't choose to be lost. They become convinced they aren't valuable enough to be found. And then we stop looking and confirm that for them. But a church dedicated to the lost being found can change the narrative in the heads, hearts, and homes of the people that we love. When we chase them as if they're our lost wedding ring, we can remind them of their worth. Will you sort through the clutter of your life to free your best friend from an addiction? Will you, and not because they're hurting, right? Not because it hurts you to see them hurting. That's still about you. It hurts me to see you like this. But simply because they are valuable enough to be free from what they're feeling. And they're valuable enough to you and they're valuable enough to God in heaven. For a different friend, will you simply send the text message that says, "Hey, I see you." Maybe that's all they need that week. Will you show up with the soup at someone's doorstep or Venmo the $5 so they have gas money to come hang out so they're not alone? Will you show them their value? Jesus wraps up this teaching on lost things with a story I think many of us are probably familiar with, but it's come to be known as the prodigal son. It's still in this chapter of Luke. And we think it's on its own. Like often, until very recently, honestly, I hadn't connected. It comes right after these other two stories. And it's Jesus linking all of these parables together. You see, in this story, his son asks for his inheritance from his father while he's still alive. This is a big dig, right? Like that's a big thing. And then he takes that inheritance. His father says yes. He takes that inheritance and he walks away and lives this incredibly selfish lifestyle. The son, he makes a choice to wander away from his family, right? And even though his family has shown him value over the years, he's lost the ability to see and understand his value. Because the grass is always greener, right? It's always greener somewhere else. But then this son, he gets to a point where the bank account has run dry and he finds himself truly at a rock bottom. In this story, he's eating alongside pigs and realizing that even at home, the servants had it better. Here we see someone who's truly lost. And in the first two stories, I think there's a notable difference, right? 1, 2, and 3. The first two stories, we see the woman and we see the shepherd go running after, go looking for the thing that was missing. This story goes a little differently because the son didn't truly go missing. He was released. By his choice, he was released. The father didn't lose his son. The son was lost because he lost his father. In this story, Jesus is addressing those of us who already know Jesus and choose to continue to be lost. This isn't about your cousin who's never set foot in a church. It's not about your coworker who grew up in foster care and didn't know anyone loved them and doesn't know any better. This is about the person who has felt the love of God and has still managed to lose their way. This person has walked away from the Father. They've already been found. Here's the thing. They need to be found again. I personally, I'm a big fan of small churches. One of the reasons is it's not hard to see who's missing. It's easy to feel the absence of someone's presence. It might make some of you a little bit antsy to know that on our drive home every week, one of our first conversations Pastor Aeric and I have is, who didn't we see today? Did we know? Did we, something going on? Do they need something? On Monday nights, we have staff meetings with James and Mari. We ask this question again in case we miss somebody. And this is not a keeping track or, keeping tabs or big brother's watching you kind of thing. It's because we see your value. We notice when you are missing. And as the shepherds of this church, it is our job to see you. We've created consistent practices that allow us to see those who may be beginning to wander. You may have been on the receiving end of a Sunday or Monday text message from me asking how you are and how we can be praying for you. This is not a condemnation for missing church, and I hope anyone who ever gets one of those, especially now that I say it, doesn't feel that way. It's a genuine desire to remind you that you are seen here, you are known here, and you are needed here at Dwell. Worship team, you can come on forward. The reality is there's only so many unanswered text messages Aeric and I can send. There's only so many times we can reach out. We can watch your kids, pay a bill, drop a meal with no response. Some people really like to be chased. And to a point that Eric and I will find ourselves exhausted, running on empty, and unable to care for the sheep, the 99 that are still here. Too many times in our ministry career, Pastor Eric and I have put all of our attention towards a squeaky wheel and unintentionally neglected those who are doing okay right now, but have the same deep desire to feel seen, known, and needed. We've lost people here at Dwell because we refuse to play a game of spiritual hide and seek, the one where we have to convince you that a life with God is good for you, that a life in a church community rather than by yourself is good for you. The prodigal son is spoiled. Some of us are spoiled too. We've made a habit of treating God more like our sugar daddy instead of our provider. We expect him to be more like Medicaid or unemployment than our savior. And when we're talking about those who have already been found, we learn to take the approach of the Father. See, when the Son walks away, the Father doesn't go running after him. He trusts that he has established in the Son enough of a pattern of you are seen, enough of a pattern of you are known, enough of a pattern of you are needed, that someday he might return, even if the Son can't see it right now. So let's look at what happens when the Son returns. Luke 15:20-24 says, "So he returned home to his father. And while he was still a long way off, his father saw him coming. Filled with love and compassion, he ran to his son, embraced him, and kissed him. His son said to him, 'Father, I have sinned against both heaven and you, and I am no longer worthy of being called your son.' But his father said to the servants, 'Quick, bring the finest robe in the house and put it on him. Get a ring for his finger and sandals for his feet. Kill the calf that we've been fattening. We must celebrate with a feast. For this son of mine was dead and now has returned to life. He was lost, but now he was found.' So the party began." We live in a world that is filled with lost people. And I truly believe that every single person sitting in this room, you can find yourself in one of these stories. So maybe you're like that first story. Are you wandering right now? Are you the sheep and you've strayed away? Maybe you're in the valley. Maybe whatever's going on for you right now, you're surrounded by wolves. This morning, I want you to hear, we see you, we seek you, and if you're in the valley, we want to walk beside you. Will you let us? Now that you've been here, even if this is your very first day, know that you are counted. Like the coin in the story, we'll feel it if you're missing. Not because we're keeping track, not because we want to measure how good we're doing or to hold you to some weird standard, but because you're valuable. You've allowed us to know you, and we want to know you more. Will you let us? Are you more like the son in the last story? Are you walking away? For some people, this looks like one foot in the door, but the other one's out and my suitcase is already packed outside there. Maybe it looks like showing up because someone you really care about asked you to come here, but the second you walked in the door, you were here, but your brain turned off. You're physically present, but spiritually lost. Dear lost son or daughter, we need you. We need your presence. We need your unique take on life, on this community. We need your laugh, your story, your thoughts. Will you have us? Or maybe none of those feel like they fit. Well, you're in the most dangerous seat, because that means you're found. And that means you got work to do. It's the hardest spot to be in because you're the shepherd. And being a shepherd is not easy. It's not easy. You're the search party. Your job is to go find the lost and bring them home. Who in your life is wandering and needs a friend to walk the valley with them? Who in your life is missing and needs you to chase them for a little bit? Who in your life is choosing to be lost and needs to know that when they choose to return, you've got open arms waiting for them? Dwell, are you currently living in a way that shows people you love they are seen, they are known, and they are needed? If your answer to that is no, it's okay. It's okay. You're not a bad person. You're not failing. More often than not, I fall way short of this for the people I love. And that's why we form this search party together. That's why we're in a room full of people that we can walk shoulder to shoulder with as we build this life, as we seek out the people who are lost, as we love on someone who is found, whether they're found for the first time or the fourth time. We get to throw a party together. We get to rejoice together. So today, why don't you stand with me as we close here? But today, we're going to start living that way. We're going to start living like we're seeking the lost. If you found yourself in one of those lost categories, you're going to choose to be found. You've got people who will love you.